After having the league's worst win percentage since trading Jimmy Butler back in 2018 and after a few more disappointing seasons, the Chicago Bulls are finally looking like the NBA's fourth most valuable franchise, which they actually are, as the Arturas, Karnisovas, and Marc Eversley-led front office together with head coach Billy Donovan has continuously worked to reboot the franchise in just a span of a year and a half by spending both cash and draft capital to surround All-star Zach Lavine with enough pieces to compete against the NBA's best teams and to potentially contend for an NBA title as soon as possible. And to start the brand new 2021 to 2022 season, by the looks of it, the Chicago Bulls are looking just as good as advertised or even better. Well, everyone kinda knew that the Bulls were gonna get a lot of buckets with their brand new roster, but the thing is, despite acquiring two-way playmaker Lonzo Ball, high-energy guard Alex Caruso, and a couple of long and athletic wing players during the offseason, a lot of people still expected Chicago's rotation to struggle in terms of getting defensive stops, simply because the team was headlined by three offense-first guys in Lavine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. But so far, after 6 regular season games, you can say that such kind of narrative can't be applied to the team anymore, as it has been Chicago's defense which has led the way for them to a 5-1 record, as the team is currently holding its opponents to 99.5 points per 100 possessions, which ranks them as the 4th best defensive team in the NBA so far. So what's good guys, it's Real Balls here, and today we'll look at what the Chicago Bulls are exactly doing on the defensive end, which contributes to their high win percentage, how all these also complement the team's performance in the offensive end, and why the Chicago Bulls just might currently be the real deal as well. But before we move on, if you guys happen to enjoy this video and these types of content, please do me a favor by hitting that like button, as it definitely helps the channel a lot. It only takes a second of your time, but it definitely goes a long way and it will be much appreciated. So let's get to it. When you think of the best defensive teams over the past couple of seasons, you'd notice that all those teams feature some great rim protectors like Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or Joel Embiid. I mean, in the most basic sense, all these elite defensive teams follow some kind of blueprint which could look something like this. Whereas, as you can see, modern-day NBA centers are expected to be able to defensively cover the area right around the rim, while also simultaneously being able to stretch up until the extended paint area up to around 20 feet of the basket to be able to defend pick and rolls as well, with guards and wings having relatively limited space to operate on defense. But the thing is, Chicago's starting center Nikola Vucevic isn't exactly your ideal modern-day big man defender. Yeah, he's a 2-time All-Star, but he doesn't particularly protect the rim at a high level, as he's only averaged less than a block per game for his entire career, and he also doesn't have the quickest feet to be able to slide down to prevent guys from scoring in the pick and roll. So I think it's safe to say that the typical modern-day defensive blueprint won't exactly work for the Bulls as it did for other teams with great defensive big men. Still, at 7 feet tall with a 7'4" wingspan, Vucevic can still cause a lot of defensive damage just by doing the little things such as helping out on double teams or deflecting interior passes. But the thing is, he'd only be able to do that once you surround him with some high level and highly switchable defenders, which is also why Chicago has been following a defensive blueprint that looks more like this one instead, wherein the center's defensive scope is pretty much pushed a little further away from the basket, with the guards having a lot more ground to cover to be able to defend offensive players from the point of attack, and with the wings basically also having more responsibility, particularly as help defenders around the rim, which kind of blueprint basically requires the guards and the wings to fight through screens, maintain ball pressure, and play the passing lanes in order for the big man to be able to focus on being a defensive filter around the paint without necessarily having to be the team's last line of defense. And the good thing is, during the offseason, the Bulls have acquired guys which exactly fit such kind of setup. They've acquired Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso, a pair of guards who can defend and disrupt ball handlers from the point of attack. They've also got wings like Javonte Green, Troy Brown Jr., Alize Johnson, and Derrick Jones Jr., in addition to starting power forward Patrick Williams, who's now out for the season. But yeah, all these guys just bring length and athleticism and some excellent help defense from anywhere on the floor. And when a combination of these guys are deployed on the court, even with Chicago's lesser known defenders, the team has still been able to suffocate opposing teams with constant defensive activity. Just like in this clip, watch how the Bulls defend the Raptors pick and roll. Lonzo Ball fights through the screen while Vucevic sags to the paint to prevent the roll man from recovering, but in the process, Zach Lavine already tags the ball handler to cause the turnover. And in this clip, watch how Corey Joseph drives to the rim. Dosunmu stays with him using his verticality to block the shot, and as Isaiah Stewart recovers the loose ball, Lonzo Ball just comes out of nowhere to get his own block as well. Then here, Vuce and Lonzo are playing the drop coverage once again. This time it looks like it's gonna be an easy lob for the Raptors, but Patrick Williams just meets Achiuwa up in the air for the stop. Then Achiuwa recovers the ball, but Vuce is able to seal the space under the rim as Lonzo once again rises up for the block. So as you can see in those kinds of plays, both the Bulls guards and wings are just staying active trying to disrupt the passing lanes or just playing great help defense at the rim, with Vucevic also being a vital piece of the defense, although he's not exactly blocking shots. Well, this is basically how the Bulls have been running their own defensive blueprint, and as a result, Chicago currently ranks 3rd in the NBA with 18.5 deflections per game, only behind Toronto and Philly, while 5 Bulls players also rank in the top 25 of deflections per game, with Caruso ranking 8th, Vucevic ranking 10th, Lonzo Ball ranking 12th, and Javonte Green ranking 25th. Further, Chicago also currently ranks 10th in the league in steals per game and 9th in blocks per game, which are definitely huge improvements from last season wherein they finished 28th and 27th in the league in steals and blocks per game respectively. And to cap it all off, Chicago was also forcing opponents to a 19.1 turnover percentage, which currently ranks the Bulls as the 2nd best team in the NBA in terms of forcing turnovers, only behind Minnesota. Overall, all these numbers have started to fuel an emerging transition-heavy style of offensive attack for the Bulls, led by their high-energy defensive playmaking duo of Caruso and Ball, who are currently leading Chicago with 2.7 steals and 2 steals per game respectively. And with that, you can just see how beautiful it looks when the Bulls are turning hard-nosed defense into easy offense in the open floor. Just like in this clip, watch how Caruso defends the ball handler's downhill drive, then as Vucevic provides the help defense, Devonte Graham just loses his balance, which leads to Lonzo Ball getting the steal, after which he finds a running Zach Lavine for the easy fast break dunk. And here, it's Lavine's turn to pick up the ball handler. You can just see how he does a great job of moving laterally and staying vertical to disrupt the potential pass, which Vucevic eventually interrupts, which then leads to a beautiful guard-to-guard alley-oop between Lonzo Ball and Caruso in transition. So as we can see, the Bulls are just able to generate a lot of transition opportunities regardless of who on the team serves as the initial defender, and whether it be out of pick-and-roll coverages or even out of simple isolation matchups. And this up-tempo kind of approach actually serves as a significant shift from last season's offensive model for Chicago, as the Bulls currently rank 3rd in pace per game and 12th in fast break points per game, both of which are huge improvements from last season wherein the team only ranked 16th and 20th in those categories respectively. But while Chicago's speed and open floor transition game helps them hunt for quick scoring opportunities, which obviously works for them so far, their half-court game on the other hand has also received a much needed boost with the arrival of DeMar DeRozan, who's one of the best isolation scorers in the NBA today. Currently, DeRozan is averaging 23.7 points per game, putting him on pace to have his best scoring season since 2017. But I think what's even more important for Chicago is that DeRozan's ability to carry much of the scoring and playmaking load during late game situations is already starting to show us that Zach Lavine, who had the 3rd highest 4th quarter usage in the league last season, won't have to carry that same offensive burden again. I mean, we saw that when DeRozan basically took over during the final minutes in Chicago's win against Toronto. And although in a very small sample size, I think you can say that the slightly reduced scoring and playmaking workload has seemed to help Lavine so far, as both his player efficiency rating and assist to turnover ratio have gotten quite better as compared to last season. Well, naturally, Chicago just depended a lot on Lavine's efficiency in order to win in the past, as in the 29 games wherein Lavine shot under 50% from the field last season, the Bulls had an ugly 11-18 win-loss record. But what's actually been scary so far is that Chicago is currently winning most of their games and are enjoying a 5-1 win-loss record, despite both Lavine and Vucevic each having shot below 50% in 4 out of their 6 games so far, and despite DeRozan having shot above 50% only once this season. So just imagine how much more they can win once all their top 3 scorers start hitting shots more efficiently. So all in all, Chicago's offseason moves and decisions currently look like they're starting to pay off. I mean, instead of forcing their way to renegotiate a contract extension for Zach Lavine, the front office gambled and used their cap space and draft capital to land key pieces who could hopefully show Lavine that he can definitely win in Chicago and that he can do it without having to carry the load all by himself. And to be honest, that just might be the best pitch that the Bulls could have made for him to resign with the team in 2022. Well, sure, Chicago hasn't beaten a lot of playoff teams so far except for the Jazz, and for sure, there's still a season's worth of games for them to prove that they're actually for real, but I think what the team has shown so far still calls for a lot of optimism for Bulls fans, cause first, they're playing great defense when nobody thought they would. I think that enough should at least lead them back to the playoffs, and second, with still so much time left to develop chemistry among a team which is already loaded with offensive talent, I think going deep in the postseason is already a huge possibility for the Bulls right now. So, do you guys think the Chicago Bulls are for real? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you're new to the channel, I'm inviting you to subscribe as well. Again, this is Rero Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.